Learn today's breaking news as finally, us and Leicester City have reached a verbal agreement now for the sale of Wesley Fofana. It's happening. Fofana will become our new signing of the window. And to move on, we have updates on Aubameyang and Endrick as well too. So if you guys are excited, gassed and happy with the signing of Wesley Fofana, you guys know what to do with that like button. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to leave it out there. Hope you guys enjoy it and getting straight into the video. So now let's start with things and let's quickly discuss the updates on Aubameyang. It seems like a deal now is getting closer and closer. A few minor details to sort out. And one of those minor details actually comes down to the contract length that Aubameyang wants. Now it's believed that we are willing now to double his existing Barcelona salary. He's earning around like 75, 80,000 a week. So we're going to double that to around 150, 160k. The issues come down in terms of contract length. Aubameyang wants a 2-year deal minimum. So far we've only offered 1 year. Now we have to remember that next summer we have plans to reinforce and upgrade our attack. Leao could be a strong option if we can't get a deal for him done before the window ends, and Christopher Nkunku of RB Leipzig is one of the main players we're looking at and was one of the main signings we wanted, of course, before being told categorically that he wouldn't be leaving Leipzig under any situation. So we have to wait for him, but at the same time I just can't accept any player willing to just uproot their life all of a sudden after just recently signing for Barcelona in January to sign for us and accept a 1-year deal. I think there'll have to be some leeway now. I wouldn't be surprised if this deal got completed by offering Aubameyang performance-related clauses. For example, if you get a certain amount of goals or hit a certain amount of minutes throughout a season, then you can get like an automatic 1-year extension in your deal. Hopefully that is the middle ground needed to get this deal over the line. You'd imagine that this would also maybe motivate the player even more to, guarantee that he will remain for next season as well too. But I'm sure that this will be the final hurdle that shouldn't be too difficult to find workarounds for. Of course, in terms of that final fee, I'm getting a bit annoyed by things. It seems like every day a fee is being put out there that is the fee that Barcelona would accept. Yet every day new information comes out suggesting otherwise, and it seems like Barcelona have maybe reduced their demands now to being happy to receive between 20 to 21 million pounds. They've now registered Koundé as part of their squad, so he will be playing against Real Valladolid. So I'd imagine that Barca can reduce their terms a bit more. So let's see what happens. It feels like Aubameyang will be the next one to get done soon. Man United have expressed some late interest to try and sign him, but Aubameyang has made things very clear. He only wants to sign for us. We can offer him Champions League football as well too. But for me, I'm not going to just completely write Man United off, because let's say hypothetically we couldn't find that contract length demands with Aubameyang. You'd imagine that Man United could match the contract terms that we've presented to the player, and you'd imagine that they could offer him a longer contract as well too. But for me, I'm feeling very confident that he will be the next player to sign after Wesley Fofana. So I guess now is the perfect segue to discuss all the breaking news surrounding our imminent signing in Wesley Fofana. Today's video is brought to you by friends of the channel and OneFootball, with our upcoming game later today against Leicester City at 3 PM. OneFootball is one of the perfect hubs to get all the latest pre-match news and information. As you guys can see right here, some very interesting match facts to get you guys excited for the game, understand our history and record against Leicester. Later on, of course, we're seeing some predicted lineups, but you'll get the official lineups listed here as well too. And obviously if you go to the profile page and go to us, you'll see all the latest news behind our new signing in Wesley Fofana. So you guys, OneFootball for me is one of the best apps to have if you're a football fan. Honestly, try it for yourselves. It's absolutely free and I guarantee that you will love this app and use it on the daily. Now getting back to the video. Now let's discuss Wesley Fofana. Last night the story was first broken by Fabrice Hawkins from RMC Sport, and earlier this morning it was further confirmed by Fabrizio Romano himself, and finally we have reached a verbal agreement now with Leicester City for the sale of Wesley Fofana. We already know that Fofana has agreed personal terms. He will sign a 6-year deal. He will earn around 230,000 a week as well. But in terms of that final fee, well, it seems like it is a base fee of around 70 million pounds, which is an astronomical amount of money to pay up front. And that gives Leicester City the maneuverability now to make additions to their squad and to find the right replacements for players they're about to sell. So I understand that that would have to be one of the main workarounds to get this deal over the line. But in terms of the add-ons on top of this deal, technically it would make Fofana the most expensive defender in football history. Now this is where things get interesting, and let's break things down even further. Just because there are add-ons in the deal does not necessarily mean that every single one is going to be satisfied. Let's cast our minds back to when Real Madrid bought Eden Hazard from us. The total value of that deal was worth around 160 million once that base fee was added on top of all the clauses and add-ons being met. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that that was ever going to happen. You'd imagine that there were going to be add-ons for things like Ballon d'Or awards, goals and personal accolades, which realistically now won't be met. So we'll never get the full 160 mil for Eden Hazard, but we have made a decent amount of money in terms of Madrid winning the Champions League and of course winning La Liga as well too. So you'd imagine that those same principles are going to be the same for Wesley Fofana. In that sense, it allows Leicester City to technically say that they've sold Fofana for a world record fee, knowing the fact that they know that they won't receive all add-ons in the future. But technically they can save face and still put out there that they're a very difficult team to negotiate with, and if you want any one of their players, be ready to pay the right amount of money to sign them. Now, even though we've read so many conflicting reports over the past few weeks, the reality was simply this. I mean, the moment that Fofana was missing matchday scores for Leicester City, you know that the player's head was not there anymore. And as Rodgers himself said, when you keep players that aren't necessarily happy, sometimes they never become the same again. I think last season we saw something similar with Jules Koundé, where, you know, his start to the season for Sevilla was quite slow at the start before he found his form during the second part of the season. So now it seems that Fofana's dream has finally been fulfilled. He'll play for a Champions League team. Hopefully he finds himself in that French World Cup squad as well too. You'd imagine that now he's playing for us, he'll definitely be one of the main guys being looked at. And it probably means that Trevor Chalobah can now leave on loan, with Inter Milan and AC Milan being some of the two favourites currently to try and sign him on loan. So now, you guys, I want to end things by giving some of my thoughts and opinions behind this deal. Now, as I've been saying consistently, this is a crazy amount of money to spend on a player. He has incredible potential though, that cannot be denied. I think we understand that. And as I keep reiterating too, I do have an open mind behind Fofana's development, of course, and how play for us and actually add to the team for this season. So I like to keep an open mind because I'm not arrogant enough to believe that I know everything, and I don't like to just blindly stick to personal opinions as if like they're the absolutes, when I know that there's still a lot more for me to learn and to understand. With Fofana, he is a very moldable talent. What do I mean by that? I don't think he necessarily stands out in one particular part of his game, but he does so many things well at a decent level for his age, and I think that's what makes him very exciting. He's the type of player where, as he develops over the years, he could be quite complete in a few areas of his game, and you'd imagine that if he was like a talent on Football Manager, you'd have a lot of 14s and 15s scattered everywhere, and guys that bang that game out, we know that they're the type of players we're looking at to, of course, grow on and go to the next level. So I'm definitely open-minded to the fact that Fofana can definitely achieve something here, but I'm also aware to the fact that most likely he will have mistakes in his game. There will be times that he does get done at times. It's natural because he's quite young, and listen, you guys, even guys like Sergio Ramos during the same age was constantly making mistakes as well too, so it's part and parcel of the game. But I think at an environment like this, he can definitely go to the next level. I think with the defensive structures put in place by Thomas Tuchel, that will definitely help elevate him, as well as learning from your Koulibalys and Thiago Silvas too. Now, I put out a tweet last night and I was thinking, with the addition now of Fofana, could Tuchel feel a bit more confident now, maybe alternating between using a back four setup and hopefully us using a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. I think after that defeat against Leeds, I feel like this season we have to see an alternation now between a back three setup for the big games, because I will always use a back three in the big games because it just sets us up way too nicely. But against your Leeds, your Brightons, teams at that level, it's not the first time that we've suffered and lost points against them. And I do feel like at times we get exposed in the final third because when teams are sitting back parking the bus, we don't have enough options and enough men making the right runs to take men out of the game. So many details I can go on, and it would be its own separate video. So I think that with the physicality and the pace that Fofana brings alongside Koulibaly, for example with Reece James and Cucurella and Ben, that is a back four that has a lot of pace. And obviously I understand what the main thing is. Nini, we don't have a DM. Like, we didn't go for Declan Rice. We haven't gone for a DM to help take that team to the level to play a back four. But for me, I feel like if there's one thing that I've learned over the past 24 months from Tuchel, is the fact that he is a manager that will use players out of position for the benefit of the team. And I actually have to say this, I don't think Jorginho necessarily is a terrible solution to use when you're playing against your Leeds, your Brightons and teams like that. Realistically, it comes down to how you use Jorginho in that system. Now, you wouldn't use him in isolation. You wouldn't just have him in front of your back four. The distances are very big and very wide because he's definitely going to get exposed. But under Thomas Tuchel, he doesn't play that way. So I'd imagine that if we revert to a midfield three where he has protection from like a Mount dropping deeper, cover on the right hand side, Gallagher, whoever on that right hand side as well too, that could definitely add to the team. And I'd imagine that Tuchel would consider pushing that back four up even higher to just, you know, structurally give that support to Jorginho. With the pace we now have in that back four, I feel like this is something tactically we could rely upon. And I'd imagine that one of the fullbacks would easily invert as well too, to create a makeshift pivot at times too, to help out. So I think that with Tuchel's positional play, there are easily solutions there to mitigate some of the weaknesses that we have when Jorginho is that DM. But let's not forget that he hasn't played like this for the Italian national team, for Napoli as well too. We had a great relationship with Koulibaly. So I don't think it necessarily weakens us to such a level that we couldn't compete against your Leeds, your Brightons, etc, etc. In fact, I think it could unlock more ability from our attacking players, where for me, it feels like we have to embrace our attacking instincts a bit more and let these guys express themselves more. I think it's getting a bit too rigid at times. The reality is we probably won't win the league, but we need to get Champions League football. And I do think that teams in this league now are clocking our system a bit more. So relying upon a different system at times where other players are playing better because they're able to play in the better positions. And if you're giving Jorginho that protection now that you have like a very fast back four, I think that we could turn to this at times during the season. So that's my thoughts and opinions. Wesley Fofana is our player. How do you guys feel about this? Are you excited? Is he the one you wanted? Or is he a player that you didn't want us to sign? Let us know in the comment section. And now we end things with a very quick update on Endrick. Now I'm going to discuss a report that came out from Brazil, and this journalist in particular, Jorge Nicola, he has been like one of the main guys reporting all the details behind this story for Endrick. Essentially, as he says, we have intentions to make a €40 million bid to try and sign the player. However, we haven't presented anything officially, so it seems like there's a reason behind why. And as Nicola reports, he states that we want to wait for Endrick to actually play first team football for Palmeiras first to see how he does and what he brings. I can't understand why. Recently, Endrick alongside Moukoko from Dortmund were seen as one of the most valuable under-17 players in world football. And with Endrick and the amount of interest he has from Paris Saint-Germain's, Barca's, Real Madrid's, etc, etc, he's clearly a player with a lot of promise and belief. And a lot of people in Brazil have a lot of confidence in that same Neymar, Ronaldo type of caliber and mold. Now, I was quite worried when I read this report first, thinking, okay, are we going to really wait to watch him play first and potentially lose ground in the deal? However, it's reported by Nicola that many other teams interested in Endrick too are all in the same camp, and they want to see what he does in the first team first. I guess now is the time to just sell why you need to sign for us, whilst also monitoring the player, because you know, it's going to take serious money to sign him. In the case of Palmeiras, they're more than happy to sell the player right now, knowing the fact that he can't actually leave them until he's 18, so they're getting big income now, and they know that they can keep him for 2 more years before he moves. Knowing that we've signed all the major youth targets that we wanted, I hope that Endrick completes that list of like spectacular talents that we're signing. I think this guy really is the real deal in terms of how he plays. I think every type of youth tournament and youth international tournament, he's been that main figure. He's shining, he's absolutely just being levels above all his peers around him. And I hope that we're showing him and presenting the right offers and ideas that, listen, Endrick, your future is with us. And if we are able to secure him, you guys, I feel like he'll set us up nicely for many years to come. So it's very exciting, and let's see what happens with Endrick. So on that note, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. There is going to be a watch along for our game versus Leicester today, so stay tuned, and of course get ready to watch the match will be coming out once the game's over. I'm NiniFC, this is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.